So I told you guys there'd be some big names today. And as we continue on with them, we have Mr. Sergio Avedian. Most of you know him. If you don't, he is the host or co-host of Show Me the Money Club. He's been with the Rideshare guy for quite some time, in many different capacities, and he really understands this game. He was out here when we were having the town hall, and we got the Senator Priola to even show up. We had the drafter Stephanie, who was just on. She was here. We had a bunch of gig workers, and I feel like we played a role in getting that ball kicked down the road a little farther. And this law passed. It's been passed for a while, and now here we are. And Uber is suing in the 11th hour. And Sergio, I'm just going to kind of let you speak because I'm sure you have some things
Yeah,
to say on this.
yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me on. You are correct, right? I was in Denver, right, about over a year ago, and we had the town hall that you guys put together. Wonderful event. Stephanie was there in person, and we were not expecting Kevin Priola to show up because previously he killed a bill that Stephanie had introduced, and and I would tweet a bunch of smack about Mr. Priola,
But he
Senator
did show.
Priola.
But he
He
did
did
show.
show. He did
Yeah.
show. And you know what? I think it had a lot to do with him now doing a 180 and sponsoring the bill next year, right? Because I talked to him about 45 minutes in private, and I remember Kim and Zach talked to him as well, and
Mhm.
he intently listened. And next year, sure enough, sponsored the bill. This bill, as far as I'm concerned, is as clean as a bill as you can get. It doesn't have any earnings guarantees in it. It doesn't have anything in it that Uber may not like. Initially, my thing is, why at the 11th hour? If you didn't like it then, you don't like it now.
I was wondering the same thing myself, but I just kind of chalked it up to, oh, it's Uber.
Well, that's Uber. Uber playbook is pretty clear, right?
Yep.
And if it was because according to this lawsuit, which I did read, and oddly enough, we were going to have David Seligman on, who is in Denver, who is towards justice. Yesterday, he got stuck. It was on Tuesday. He got stuck in court. So we're hoping to have him on next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday on Show Me the Money. And he wrote a wonderful opinion piece about it. Basically, it's a wonderful rebuttal to this frivolous, hypocritical lawsuit that I call it. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
and
agree. I've read it too. And actually for a lawsuit that's 50 pages, once you get through the first page, it's almost entertaining because it's so ridiculous.
yeah, yeah, for sure, right? I mean, this looks
I
like
think so.
a first year law student, not some $8,000 an hour law firm that brought this lawsuit upon. But as we know, they threw the kitchen sink in there from the First Amendment. Also, but,
Yeah.
we're talking about First Amendment. How about the driver's First Amendment rights, right? I mean, we can't talk to the rider this way according to their TOS, and we can't connect with them afterwards. All kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty. I don't know. So the oral arguments at court or court hearing is imminent now. I think next few days, and we'll see what the judges say. We'll see if they throw it out or I don't know how the process works, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the cleanest bill that there could be towards transparency. Okay, transparency is something these companies do not like. They lack transparency. They've been lacking transparency from the first day on. And there are a couple of questions that I could play the devil's advocate here and take on the other side. Meaning, you could say, why should any rider know what the driver is making? You can have an analogy, let's say. Does the person who buys a hamburger at McDonald's know what's happening? Well, it's not a good analogy as far as I'm concerned. However, let's do a couple of analogies in the transportation sector because we are transporting people around, right?
Sure.
Let's take a cab company and a cabbie. Isn't there a meter right there?
Yeah.
Isn't it clicking? Doesn't
Yeah.
the cabbie know at the end of the trip how much the rider is going to pay?
Yep.
And doesn't the rider know how much the cabbie made right then and there because they're paying?
Well, I guess it depends on the city. I like here we have one cab company that rents the cab out to you weekly.
No, I
And then we
understand
have
that.
other ones where you are just time sharing it. And
No, I fully understand that. But however, there is transparency right then and there in front of the customer, in front of the passenger, right?
sure.
They know what they're going to pay. It's not decided for both sides of the marketplace by some opaque algorithm. That's when
Right.
the
Yes.
transparency flies out of the window, right?
Yeah. It's like
There's no
having a
algorithm.
dynamic number on a credit card APR.
Right. So the cabbie's meter is set, it's regulated,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yeah. It's like a per mile, right? Per minute or whatever
Exactly.
they
Per
do. Yeah.
mile, per
Okay.
minute, same thing, different rates in different cities. So there's certain transparency there. If
Hmm.
you take public transport, there is certain transparency. If you take a bus, if you take the metro, I mean, you know what the fare is.
Yeah. You pay it up front.
Exactly. So here, there is no transparency. There's some opaque algorithm supposedly figuring out 70 different things in a millisecond and spitting a price out. And Uber doesn't want to release that. That is, I think, the ultimate reason here why they are suing now and trying to stop it, because I'm actually hoping this lawsuit goes through. Then during depositions and during whatever the process is going to be, Uber may have to divulge some of the algorithm that's in there. And they don't want to do it, right? Now, they claimed First Amendment rights. There was some ridiculous, frivolous things in there, which is,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
one of them is font size. I've already
font
talked
size.
about it a
And
little bit, a few
and
times.
I don't want to take too long, but I'm 100%, so no misunderstanding here, 100% behind SB 75.
Yep.
100%.
So it's Colorado Senate Bill 24-075, and then there's another one that's the TNC. There's another one called HB
That's for the
24-11
DNCs.
1129 for the DNC, which is
Right.
delivery
So for
network.
your audience who may not be familiar with
Right.
TNC, TNC is Transport Network Company,
Yep.
and DNC is Delivery Network Company. So
Yes.
DNCs would be Uber Eats, Grubhub, and DoorDash, and TNC would be, there's only two.
Yeah.
Well, there's two that matter.
But the
Uber and Lyft.
one that they're stating and the one that they're putting up in the app right now to everybody in Colorado is only stating the TNC so far.
Right. Okay. Well, what the other thing is, there were two main things in here in the bill. Okay, in SB 75. One was about deactivations.
Right.
Okay, clear as day. I mean,
Yep.
it doesn't take a genius to figure that part out. We know how these companies deactivate, right? They're like the LAPD. They shoot first, ask questions later. You know, they take the rider's side immediately. Obviously, they've been like that for a decade. Look, if you get a report as Uber as the driver doing something unsafe, I do understand a suspension maybe until there is some sort of investigation. But, and again, not every driver should be on the platform, by the way. You're right.
Right. Of
If you
course.
need to be deactivated, you need to be deactivated,
Yeah.
period. But this had some safeguards that, the drivers had to get notified before they get deactivated. There is a recourse period, then you had to go through an appeal period. I mean, it was pretty clean. It was like nothing in there. But Uber claimed that during that process, they may have to divulge or infringe upon the privacy of the rider. What about
Right.
the privacy of the driver? There is
Yeah.
no privacy of the driver to start with, because the rider knows everything about us before they even get in our car, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's clean part of the bill. The second part was, a lot of people are thinking that the on the ping screen or the request screen, right?
Mhm.
When the offer comes in, Uber has to put what the rider is paying. It's not like that. What Uber drivers, as drivers, we already know, after the trip is over, if we go to the Uber website, of course, they made it a little bit more difficult these days. It used to be right on the fingertips in the app.
Yeah.
Now you have to go to the website, which is a couple extra clicks, not a big deal. As a driver, you know what the rider paid, because it's clear as day. Every single trip is a live link. You click on the trip that you're interested in, it'll open it up, and you'll see what the rider paid. On this one, in addition, though, this bill requires the rider to know what the driver got paid.
Right.
Now, a lot of people are going to
And
be
line item breakdowns of what you can't roll processing and taxes into one.
exactly. And now there are some people that may say, well, it's none of the rider's business what the driver made. Well, no, it is, because in this day and age of this two-sided marketplace, I believe both sides are getting screwed. The rider, actually, I think the rider is getting screwed more than the driver these days, because the fares have gone up 40, 50, 60% over the last 3-4 years. So the rider is not going to see that when they're ordering a trip, because they don't know who they're going to match. They don't know how far they're going to come from. The pricing is not set. When the rider gets the upfront fare, the driver's share is not going to be in there. However, once you finish your trip, if you take a trip as a rider, as you know, you will get a final receipt within 30 seconds or a minute from Uber. In that one, they will show what the driver made. So Uber is against these two things, which is full transparency as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And I am 100% behind this bill. So, we have a couple extra minutes here. I did email Stephanie's office, which you talked already.
Yep.
She responded. I want to thank her for that. And we will make a note of that on Show Me the Money on Tuesday. I did email Senator Priola's office. He has not responded yet. I definitely want to talk to him. I've been again tweeting, tagging him, because last time I did. Actually, I do have an interview that I did when this bill was passed with Senator Priola. It's on our channel at the Rideshare Guy. So yeah, I am behind this bill. There is no reason for this lawsuit, right? Again, I'm going to step back to, I believe Uber is in the transportation business, as much as they call themselves, an IT company or a technology company, right?
Yeah. I don't even call them in the transportation service. I call them a dispatch company.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I used to call them cab company with an app, right? Right. But the deal here is, as far as I don't know of any other transportation business that there is no transparency in setting the fares up. Most of them are regulated, as we know, cabs and buses and whatever, public transport. It's all regulated. It's upfront. You know what you're going to pay. It's not fluctuating. So when that happens, you can't now come and sue and complain that, well, that's what we do. We're not going to divulge, how this works. We're not going to just, accept that, our pricing. We know, everybody knows our pricing is not fixed. Rider prices may fluctuate. Driver prices may fluctuate. Then there should be transparency. We should know how this works.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what the goal of the bill is. Nothing more, nothing less. There is no, like Minnesota or Massachusetts or California. There's no proposition involved. There is no other benefits involved. There is no minimum wage involved. There's nothing involved here. This is these two things.
So the last thing I would ask you then is do you think that literally this lawsuit, I mean, it's long, it drags out the same stuff over and over and over, but do you think it's just out there because if they have to do this here, other states are going to hear about it?
Yeah, most likely. But I think out of all the bills that I know that are currently going on in city council levels or state level, this had to be the cleanest one. If they're going to do it with this, then what are they going to do with the rest of it, right? There is a major one coming up in Chicago, and there's one in Virginia. And I mean, look, I do understand. I put myself in their shoes. I do understand why to do this, but this is pretty simple and clear cut to me. So the argument doesn't hold water, what they're saying. The lawsuit is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely. It's almost like they just don't want you to read it.
I mean, you don't even have to be a driver's advocate to say it's ridiculous. I mean, if you just read it, you just read it, any lawsuit, like it's just like, what this, yeah. So if you did not know this was Rideshare and Uber name was not involved, and you read this lawsuit, would you say this is about Rideshare?
I would be really baffled why even in the first section when they're talking about the the First Amendment, they're talking about the state's preferred message, compel Uber to speak in specific ways down to time, content, and font. I mean, I don't think that's what they're doing. This is a law that everybody is on board with, and it's the 11th hour, and they just don't want to.
And there is a lot of talk in the lawsuit, by the way, saying that, oh, this is going to make us look bad. We're going to look like the bad guy.
They even use the word
right? Shame Uber. So it seems like they care more about that, the optics or the perception of Uber, than anything else. Well, if they were so worried about it, we did a video, as you know, called on Perfect Union. 5 million people watched that.
Yeah.
So if you're so worried about that, I mean, I know out of 5 million people who watched that, probably 4.5 million were riders because
Yeah.
we don't have that many drivers, and we know not every driver watched that. So, but to me, I think it's all about this, optics or perception of Uber. Oh, we're going to look like the bad guy. Well, we're not doing what you guys think we're doing. We're the good guys. We're feeding these families. I'm like, okay, then feed them transparently. That's all.
Yeah. All right. Well, Sergio, thank you for joining. You guys, if you aren't watching the Rideshare Guy, if you aren't watching every week on Tuesday from at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, check out Show Me the Money Club. It's hosted by Sergio and Chris, and it's always a good show. So, Sergio, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you for doing what you do. I mean, you put out really great content, informative stuff. And so again, will finish. I am 100% behind SB 75, the transparency bill.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys.